how this $49 book made me build profitable trading strategies. Now, I'm not trying to sell you this book, but I need to credit a huge part of how I think about markets to it. It cost me $49 and it was 979 pages long. And it completely changed how I built strategies and managed my portfolio. Before this book, I didn't know where or how returns were created, or why I was even getting returns in the first place. This book shows you exactly why and the mechanisms behind it, like risk premiums. Now, what is the actual book I'm talking about? Well, it's called Expected Returns, An Investor's Guide to Harvesting Market Rewards by Antti Ilmanen. Now, this book introduced me to knowing where to actually make money in the markets. I stumbled across it from some mentions on Twitter when I was still trying to figure out why some of my strategies worked and why others didn't. Now, if you're not too sure who the author is, let me give you a bit of backstory. His name is Antti Ilmanen. I'm probably butchering it a bit, but that's still my best kind of pronunciation. He worked for a decade at the Salomon Brothers. He was a senior PM at Brevan Howard. He actually co-heads strategy at AQR, which is a $187 billion hedge fund. He's also advised Norway's $2.1 trillion wealth fund and advised Singapore's GIC as well many times. Another really prominent hedge fund manager called Cliff Asness called him insane, but in the good way. He was saying how he was insanely fascinated with markets. He was incredibly intelligent around them as well. Now, when I finished reading this book, it completely opened my eyes to one of the key things, understanding where returns actually come from and how hedge funds really build their portfolios. The beauty of this book is it's actually from someone that's been in the hedge fund space for many, many, many years and can teach you a lot of the lessons that maybe you're not going to get if you haven't been part of the industry. Now, to give you a bit of backstory on myself, I've been trading for about 6 years now, and primarily now I am a fully automated algorithmic trader using systematic trading methods. This means all my trades are executed via code, and ultimately it goes back to understanding your edge and not guessing nor relying on intuition, but knowing exactly where returns come from, and this is what this book teaches. Now, to save you from reading the full 979 pages, as well as the $49, but I do recommend you pick up this book if you are interested, I'm going to give you the 6 lessons to help you build profitable trading strategies, just as this book did for me. Now, lesson 1 is most returns come from risk. This is the single most important idea in the whole book. If you think you found alpha, you're probably just harvesting a risk premium without actually realizing it. So first, let's define what a risk premium is. Well, a risk premium is the extra return you earn for holding a risk that other investors do not want to bear. The simplest example of this is stocks return more than bonds over time because stocks are riskier. You get paid for tolerating that volatility, and that's what we call the equity risk premium. But equity premium isn't just the only one. There's actually many of them. In the book, he goes over several different ones that exist across different asset classes. For example, momentum premium, value premium, volatility risk premium, carry premium. Most profitable strategies you actually come across, even the ones that feel like pure skill, are probably tapping into some idea of some of these premiums. So why does this matter for you? Well, because once you understand which premium you're harvesting, you can build better strategies, you can diversify better, and you can stop fooling yourself into thinking you've discovered something completely new that nobody else has. For the most part, if you can't name the premium you're exploiting, you really don't understand your edge. Now, of course, there are still some inefficiencies in the market, like true inefficiencies, like arbitrage and things like that exist in crypto. But I would have to say 80%, maybe more, of strategies that people talk about really are some sort of premium that they don't understand, that they're taking on more risk than other people would actually like to bear, and they're getting paid for that risk. Now, lesson 2 is diversification is the real holy grail. Not one perfect strategy, not one perfect asset class. The real holy grail is combining uncorrelated return streams. He makes a really good point with this around commodities. Individual commodity futures have massive volatility, sometimes 30 to 40% annualized. That volatility drag crushes their long-term compounding returns because you're taking on so much volatility. But commodities themselves are actually very lowly correlated with each other. So when you combine them into a portfolio, you can reduce that volatility dramatically while keeping most of the returns. And this doesn't just apply to equities. You can do this with each style. So value, momentum, carry, defensive premiums. Overall, they behave differently in different market environments. So you can put them all together in a portfolio and get a smoother and more resilient returns. This is exactly what I personally do. I trade equities, futures, and crypto, and I trade them in different ways. For example, crypto is primarily a lot of in momentum, whereas in commodities and futures, I trade also a decent amount of mean reversion strategies and things like that. And then I also have some things that are completely uncorrelated, like an arbitrage strategy. While they are not going to last as long as the other particular strategies, it's a great way to mix them all together into my portfolio that I'm running about 12 strategies total now. And I can get lower volatility because I'm combining them all together while still keeping a good chunk of the returns, making my Sharpe ratio better, and overall making my return profile better. Now, I talk about this a lot on this particular channel. So if you've seen my diversification video, this is exactly the concept behind it. If you haven't, check out the Holy Grail video on my channel. I'll probably make a new one at some point that's maybe a bit better explained. But as with many other books I've talked about, especially in the quant and systematic space, they've all come to the same conclusion that you want uncorrelated assets or strategies in your portfolio, and that's going to give you the best returns. It's all about building building a portfolio of strategies that don't break all at the same time. Now, lesson 3 is actually 10 sources of returns you could actually go and find today. And some of them are the actual opposite of what most traders assume. So here's some of the main ones. Of course, if you want to buy the book, it goes over all 10, but I would say these are the most common ones you're probably going to find or be able to exploit. The first one is high volatility and high beta. Counterintuitively, not within asset classes. The most volatile stocks tend to be overpriced because investors treat them like lottery tickets, overpaying for them for a chance of a huge win. So normally, the flashiest names don't reward you in the long term. Another one is cheap assets, or otherwise known as value. These are normally trading at low prices relative to fundamentals and tend to outperform in the long term. The reason for this is they might have a low valuation that might be irrational fear or rational compensation for risk they're taking on. Either way, it produces a return long term. Recently, in the past, probably like 10 years or so, give or take, value hasn't performed as well. But recently it's been coming back a lot, especially with all the Iran fears and all those sort of things. Whereas really fundamental companies with very solid fundamentals, you can actually make decent returns on the long term on them. Next, you have positive carry. This is definitely a credible source of returns, but there is a big catch. Carry strategies have been especially rewarding in cross-country trades, but the problem is the timing of large losses. When carry blows up, it blows up at the worst time. More on this in lesson 4 and like how you can maybe try and avoid that. And then probably the main one that I think most people are exploring, especially myself, is momentum. This is where a positive trend tends to persist across different asset classes. At least in his book and from his understanding, his sweet spot is around 6 to 12 months. Now, obviously, he's running a fund with billions of dollars of capital, so you can't really be trading 1-2 month kind of momentum. But definitely in some asset classes like crypto and things like that, you can, as a retail trader, be trading quite shorter term momentum and still make decent returns. And this is exactly what we focus on at the Crypto Investment Group, where I help you build your first live algo. Because to pull all of this off, harvesting premiums, diversifying across sources, you have to be automated. And with AI nowadays, it's never been a better time. Link in the description if you're interested. But overall, his key recommendation is to harvest returns from a broad range of these sources, not just the XE premium alone. Now, of course, no single source guarantees you, and nothing will, profit every single year, but combined, they can give you a long-term edge where you can have a higher chance of being profitable in most years because you are diversified across different return streams. Now, lesson 4 is tail risks define strategies. This might be the most practical lesson for active traders because a strategy can look beautiful on paper. You can have steady returns, you can have great Sharpe ratio, even consistent XE curves historically, but the Sharpe ratio can hide lethal risks to a particular strategy. For example, in the book, he actually goes one that's painfully clear on a carry strategy. Specifically, it was currency carry, which is buying high yielding currencies and selling low yielding ones. These normally and traditionally have always grinded out at very steady profits for years sometimes, and then a crisis hits and it completely collapses. For example, you got the 1987 crash, which was about 10%. You got 1998, about 9%. You got 2008, which was around 11%. Years of gains wiped out in weeks, right when your portfolio is already probably going to be in drawdown as well. So Sharpe ratio does not always equal safety, especially if you have a high Sharpe ratio. You could have a 2 Sharpe ratio, but that could still be lethal risk that could blow up a particular strategy. So you always want to check the tail risk of that particular strategy. But not all strategies are actually vulnerable to these tail risks. Sometimes they can take advantage of them. For example, trend following is one of his self-described favorites and probably the most underrated approach.
Trend following is pretty as close as it gets to my, favorite, and I think underrated way of investing, because it combines positive Sharpe ratios and some good performance in equity tail events.
And it's because it does the opposite. It has a positive long-run Sharpe ratio with strong performances even during equity bear markets. In a bear market, trend followers normally switch from risk on to risk off and ride the decline across equity, bonds, etc. For example, in the 2010s, it was quite a rough period for trend following because central banks were keeping volatility suppressed. But when inflation forced them to step back in 2022, trends re-emerged and it had its best year since 2008. Overall, the lesson here is understand tail risk profiles of every strategy you run. Some look safe when they actually aren't, and others look volatile but protect you when it matters most. It's also a really quick point I want to make. When you go into drawdown is also incredibly important as a particular strategy in a portfolio. For example, if you're going to drawdown when every other strategy is going to drawdown, meaning you're quite correlated, that's not a great thing to have in a portfolio. Whereas if it's going to drawdown in a completely different time compared to another strategy, that can actually be very useful because then you're not double stacking drawdowns. Now, lesson 5 is the 4 paths to better performance, or just simply, having more money in your pocket from your strategies. And most traders only think about one thing if I said that kind of question, and that's finding better trades. That's the main way most people are going to think to make more money. But he actually identifies 4 distinct paths, and most traders are only using one of them. Now, path 1 is managing risk. This is counterintuitive, but you can actually boost your returns by reducing volatility. If you diversify across uncorrelated strategies to reduce your portfolio volatility, then you can use that headroom to actually scale up. This means you could maybe take on leverage or increase your total exposure, which means you can get more return for the same amount of risk inherently. Now, path 2 is exploiting your time horizon. If you can hold positions longer than most participants, or you can, hold for a drawdown in a particular strategy, you can actually have a structural edge. Strategies like trend following, value, and illiquid opportunities pay more because most traders can't stomach the weight. Now, path 3 is skill. Discretionary traders, for example, focused on specific setups and markets, whereas systematic traders emphasize broad diversification and execution efficiency using like algos, for example, like myself. Both require skill, but if you're paying high fees, you need to be in the top half of those results just to even break even. Especially with normally discretionary traders, they are taking a lot more trades and they aren't actually factoring in what is going to be path 4, which is cost control. Every basis point you spend on costs comes directly out of your edge, whether that be slippage, commissions, funding costs, spread, etc. They compound against you consistently. So if your edge is very small or you can't really detect and understand your edge, costs matter more than pretty much anything else in your process because they can ruin your particular edge. Now, most of you are probably only watching path 3, which is around skill and finding better trades, but the biggest gains can actually often come from path 1 and path 4. Now, lesson number 6 is your brain is working against you in trading. This is probably the most uncomfortable part of the book, as he describes the prospect theory, which is the behavioral frameworks by Kahneman, I think. I can't really say the second name, and how it explains why traders consistently make the wrong decisions. To quickly break each one of these down, the first is narrow framing. You evaluate trades in isolation and not as part of your portfolio. So this means you could probably overweight the pain of one losing trade and underweight how it fits into your broader system or what it's giving you in your particular portfolio. Now, number 2 is also very common, which is loss aversion. Losses hurt normally 2 times as much as gains feel good. This explains that disposition effect of hanging on to losers, hoping for a recovery, while cutting winners way too early. And if you kind of want to visually see it, there's been a lot of research around this, but primarily, let's say if you were going to lose $100, you're going to feel this much negative value. Whereas if you were to gain $100, you're getting capped out and diminishing returns a lot faster. Meaning normally you have to make about $200 to feel as good or, like the same emotional volatility as losing $100. The next one is overweighting low probability events. So many traders, I see this constantly, you can often buy or try and look for lottery ticket stocks or cryptos, etc., hoping for something to pay you 10x, and then you pay too much for that insurance, fearing for a crash as well. This is often why the most speculative gains are overpriced, because everyone is just jumping into that thing to look for that very low probability event where they could get a 10x jump, etc. The next is the house money effect. This is normally after a winning streak that you become less loss averse and take bigger risks, because ideally in your brain, you're playing with house money. And after losses, you either go overly cautious or worse, you take a massive bet trying to get back to break even. That desire to get back to break even is one of the most destructive patterns in trading from my experience. Understanding these biases won't make them disappear, but it explains why automation and systematic rules matter so much, because we can try and counter a lot of these issues by knowing that we just have these X rules to follow, or we have an algo executing for us. Now, the TLDR of this is he isn't a household name. He doesn't have millions of followers or a YouTube channel, but his work has influenced some of the largest pools of capital in the world, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video. The core message overall from his book, though, is simple. Understand where returns come from, diversify across independent sources of returns, and have the patience to stick with them when the market tests you. It's not glamorous, it's definitely not exciting, but it's what actually works over decades. If you want to go deeper, check out his book, Expected Returns. And if you want to learn how to actually build your own automated strategies based on these exact principles, such as harvesting risk premiums, diversifying across uncorrelated systems, and managing risk properly, check out the Crypto Momentum group, first link in the description. But thanks for watching.